Well, we're officially about halfway through the year. We are about to enter the month of July 2025. How does it happen? I don't know. It goes so fast. Time just fleeting. Time goes moving quickly. So, we're going to talk about the month of July. It is a month of new beginnings and rethinking, refreshing, going backwards, but also going forwards. It's one of those kind of complicated ones. We're going to start off with early July. There's pretty much the first thing that happens on the 3rd or the 4th. It's Venus conjoining Uranus while Neptune turns retrograde, and then Venus enters Gemini. So this 3rd, 4th of July, it has a lot of interesting energy. Venus and Uranus conjoin at the 29th degree of Taurus. Now, this is the last time they're going to be making that conjunction. When two planets conjoin, they blend their energies. They become one. And at the anaretic degree, 29 degrees, 52 seconds, it's really like the last minute where they're having this conversation. Uranus is about to enter Gemini, but Venus is going to kind of, I don't know, lay out the welcome mat or something. They make this conjunction, they have their rendezvous, combine their energies, and then she flows forward, kind of setting the scene for Uranus. And she'll activate that minor triangle, which Uranus is going to really activate, which is between Saturn and Neptune in Aries and Pluto. So this is like this really interesting flow of energy. While that happens, Neptune also stations retrograde. It's been going forward in Aries, brand new energy. And it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to take a respite. I'm going to go backwards a little bit, not quite ready to move forward. So it turns retrograde and it's moving back towards Pisces. Wherever you have Taurus, there may be some surprises around this period because it could have to do with things that you didn't find attractive before that all of a sudden are like, oh, that's interesting, or that sounds like fun. Okay, let's do that. Let's take the risk. Venus is the planet of joy, beauty, and value, the thing that we feel good about, and Uranus is the change maker, the shaker upper, the surprise guy, the rascal and rebel, and genius. So it could come through in your creativity, your creative work, or your relationships or your partnerships. It really just depends on where it is in your chart. It could come through in your personality, or you may, if you're a Taurus rising or something, you maybe get a different outfit or a new style. It could be a culmination, though, of a lot of different things that have been going on in that area of your life over the last 7 years. So rethinking those things, and it's kind of a sweet exit for Uranus to be getting a kiss from Venus right before it leaves, right before she moves. When Venus enters Gemini, she does activate that minor trine, and this is really going to be kind of a preview. I think she's like just putting down some really sweet energy for when Uranus enters Gemini, because we're going to feel that. That's going to be July 7th. It's going to be a massive shift from material possessions, money, financial, all these things that have to do with the stability of the markets and all that stuff. It's going to still have to do with money because Gemini is a Mercury ruled sign, and it still has to do with the markets. But it will be way more about a shifting of ideas and connections, innovation. Now, it will go in on the 7th and it will retrograde out for a little bit in November before it goes back in finally in 2026. So I believe 2025 is our on ramp onto the freeway. We're getting all this information, all these previews. So if anything feels unsettling or strange or like what in the world is going on in in my life, in the world, whatever it is for you, it's a liminal space, but we're getting like a preview, a little flavor of how it's going to be. Uranus entering Gemini, it's going to be new ways of sharing information, updates to social media, communications, a boost in our curiosity, our communicative ability to share new viewpoints, genius ideas, but also maybe a little bit ahead. It's because Uranus is a rascal, right? It's maybe going further ahead than we're ready for. You can see in pretty much everything, it's getting an AI treatment. You know, AI is all over the place, and this is just the beginning of that. So in the next 7 years, you know, we have the singularity is predicted from Ray Kurzweil. So that's when man and machine combine, when we start combining with these machine entities, and that's it's part of the evolution of wherever humanity is going. But with it being Gemini, it's a mutable sign, but it's also a dual-bodied sign. So there's two, right? There's two. This is the first dual-bodied sign in the zodiac, Gemini. The first communicators, or they're two. Now we can communicate, and it's a duality. So there will be two factions in my prediction. There's going to be people that are going to go into the digital minimalism, lean back into records and owning the DVD instead of a streaming service, and reading books instead of watching social media and TikToks and stuff like that. So we're going into a new way of communicating and learning, and it's all part of the design. It's all part of the design. And the minor triangle that will be activated is going to be supportive. That's why I'm hopeful about the next few years. Maybe the growing pains are a little bit weird because we have something happening. It's a leveling up of humanity, of consciousness, and there's two ways that it could go. I'm talking dualistically, I'm talking polarity. Like there's going to be two factions. One group is going to go extreme with the AI and the computers and all, Borg-like, whatever they're going to combine with the machines. The other side are going to reject all of this. And most of us will be somewhere in the middle. We're learning how to work with these tools and trying to figure out. So during this period, this preview period, it might be wise to start thinking about your philosophy, about technology, about what do you want, how much do you want to put into that? Because a lot of it is designed for materialism, it's designed for distraction, and it makes us actually less competent, it makes us lazier and less smart. Pluto in Aquarius is reconfiguring our humanity, our hope for the collective. It's dismantling something. Uranus is going to come in and give it a nice trine from Gemini. So bringing those ideas, fresh ideas, out of nowhere, they're going to be like, wait, what? That's what Uranus does. I don't know if you remember, but during the last 7 years, one of them that was like that was obviously the pandemic came around that time, and there was a lot of things that had to do with the supply chain getting disrupted. And then for a while, wood, lumber cost a crazy amount of money. So just stuff that was out of nowhere and surprising. Expect that to happen in technology, communication, and information. It will be an overwhelming amount of information and surprising stuff out of nowhere. So the deal with that is we need to think what's on the other side, which if you're born in 1980, 81, 82, 83, I think that's a Uranus and Sagittarius group. You're going into your Uranus opposition, and you're the ones that are going to be able to make sense of this. This is part of your destiny, is to have those genius moments where you're taking all this new information and you're making sense of it. You make it into the Sagittarian philosophical meaning, like, oh, okay, there's not just info. This is what it means. This is what we can do with it. So it's going to shift how we connect. And I think the people with Uranus and Sagittarius are going to be helping birth us into this new era. On July 10th, we have a full moon in Capricorn. That's always illuminating something. It's showing us something in that Capricorn area of life, wherever that is for you. And it has to go back to 6 months ago when we're putting some seeds in the ground for that area of life, or whatever we were thinking about doing, starting. It becomes illuminated at this time. That full moon, let me look at it on my program here. Yeah, that full moon, it has some benefits because Jupiter is still in Cancer. It'll be there for a year, which is really good. That gives us a little bit of oil in the oil can for the Tin Man. So yeah, that'll help us out. We do have Saturn, the ruler of that lunation, in a square aspect to the moon and sun. So there will be some potential there to be like, friction. It just makes sense, right? Saturn and Neptune together alone, that's massive. That's just a huge deal. But Saturn in its fall in Aries alongside with Neptune, it's just, it'll reset. It's resetting everything. And so maybe we're starting to see what our part is in that, and there could be some conviction, something that we're going to be realizing at this time. On the 13th, Saturn joins Neptune in a retrograde. Saturn goes backwards, starts to backtrack towards Pisces. And that will be, I think a moment where Saturn takes its bindle again. It's got his little marble bag and puts a few more jewels in because it's already had this preview into Aries and be like, oh, shoot, maybe I need to go and rethink this a little bit, go back to the world of boundaryless, nebulous, universal love and see what the message is, because that 0-degree conjunction of Neptune and Saturn in February of 2026, the last time it happened was 9,000 BC at 0 degrees Aries. And the other two in the recent past where they were even just in Aries together, one was the Age of Enlightenment, the one before that was the beginning of the Renaissance. So alongside with this technological, ideological, humanitarian, collective shift that we have with the air signs, with Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius, I'm guessing it has to do with some sort of, technological revolution that we have no idea what it's going to be like at this point. So again, that's why it's pretty smart to have some ideas about your philosophy and your values at this time, and start watching your own habits and what kind of information you're digesting and also putting out into the world. On the 17th of July, we have the closest Saturn and Neptune are going to get before their February exact conjunction at 0 degrees. So this is a hot point in the month. I'm not really sure what's going to be happening here, but they're within like 3 or 4 arc seconds. So very, very close to a conjunction. Starting fresh, something is happening here, but they're also retrograding. So they're like getting their first real close togetherness. Whatever happens on July 17th in that zone, that area of the month, we're going to see that repeating in February, but even more on a bigger scale. So I'd be really aware. I'm going to watch what's going on around that midpoint of the month to see what this cycle could be bringing, because the full impact comes in 2026 February. So they're laying some groundwork here. Neptune and Saturn there in Aries, it's containment. Okay. So containing some individual growth and a big spiritual expression. I was watching a little video. This guy, his name is Jake Wan. And this young guy, I don't know how old he is. He looks pretty young. He's like got a backwards cap and he looks like a young guy. But he explained this in such a way that perfectly encapsulates for me the concept of Saturn and Neptune conjunct in Aries. When you signed up to be a human being, what you signed up for was to forget your true nature. You also signed up to go through trauma, heartbreak, programming, and the illusion that comes from living on Earth. Your true nature is that you are a soul. But through the process of incarnation, you come into a very dense human body. And this dense human body, you're experiencing things like pain. But the beautiful thing is that you choose to be in this lower vibration as a soul in order to go through the human experience and experience a body with limitations and lower density as a soul. When you're just in the spirit realm, you cannot truly see yourself. But when you incarnate into a human body, you're able to truly experience yourself as a soul by creating, exploring, and learning. And the way that you truly see yourself as you go through this process of being a human being is you go through your healing, you go through your healing work, you go through the heartbreaks and the trauma, and ultimately, this process is to get you to become a human being that sees itself as a spiritual being, because ultimately what we're doing here is going from a third density consciousness, a place of separation, into a fourth density consciousness, a space where we truly see ourselves and we become into unity with all other beings and all other souls. Right now, we're going through the process of truly remembering our divinity and our connection with God or spirit, our connection to all that is, because we're a soul having a human experience. That right there in a nutshell is, I think, the point of this 0 degrees thing, these ideas and thoughts. We're evolving as a human species. We're starting to see the disillusionment of separateness. Uranus and Gemini and Pluto and Aquarius. Pluto and Aquarius, that is our humanitarian collective. It's all of us together as one. It's our hope. It's our future. And something in there is getting chewed up. It's getting chewed up by the Plutonic principle. And that's what has to happen. It's part of the deal. And then the Uranian Gemini thing, it's like all this information, all this forward motion. The timing, man. I mean, the timing for the singularity, it like falls right there in this. So we're going to have some choices to make. And I think a lot of us are starting to see that maybe that's a way. Maybe that is a way to see a fourth dimensionality. But when it's distraction, it's not. It's just taking us away from those things. So I think there's a real blend that's coming up. We have to be grounded enough to understand what is happening and what's our part in it. When you think about the 159 of your chart, first, fifth, and ninth house, the first house is your incarnation. It's your birth onto the scene, right? It's the sunrise of your life. That's what your ascendant is. And that's when you merge. Your soul merges with a material earth suit. That's our body. And you become one with this thing. The fifth house is how we express that. What are we here to express? Our joy, our bliss, our happiness, our childlike wonder, beginner mind, children, and happiness, and when you're in love for the first time, the romance, right? That's fifth house stuff. That's the soul living its best life and expressing that. And we do that through our creativity. And the ninth house, that's how we explore. We explore what is not us. It's other spirit pieces that we merge with and we bump up against and we square up with and we oppose and we learn. We learn because it's something that's not us. And so we have a mirror in that way. So I think that's part of what's going to be happening. A long way to say that, but there's some compassion and reflective layer to when these two planets are moving backwards. And I think it's a really good thing because it's going to bring that spiritual connection to it when they combine at 0 degrees Aries. It's just a major big deal. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but I don't know what it's going to be like. It's going to be wild. Ren Butler, The Archetypal Universe, I'm just going to look and see what he says about Saturn and Neptune connections, principles, a humble and grounded spirituality, quiet centeredness and integrity, feelings of divine discontent leading to a committed spiritual practice, practical service to others. And put that in Aries, it becomes very much about you, your I am. That's wherever your Aries is. It's the most independent. You don't need anybody to tell you what to do or how to do it, wherever you have Aries in your chart, if you have Aries planets or Aries rising or whatever. We all have Aries. And that is really what's getting that spiritual practice. It's getting that infusion, but in a containment as well, right? So get ready for that. On July 18th, Mercury turns retrograde in Leo. You got to slow down a little bit, got to review. Those things happen about 3 times a year, Mercury retrogrades. They last for 3 weeks. That's all the RE words. Rethink, redo, reset, re-solidify, whatever it is that you need to do. We're rethinking a lot of things. We could be drawn to old projects that we have set aside, or really has to do with how we're sharing our heart. The heart-centeredness of Leo, whatever part of you is Leo, that's very heart-centered. You have courage there. You have to grow your confidence. Those are just times to really slow down a little bit, not to push so hard. If you need a break, take it. Because the mid-month, July 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, the sun will be going into Leo, and Venus and Mars are going to square off pretty quickly on July 23rd. And when they form a tense angle, it's from Venus and Gemini, which is like, woohoo, let's learn everything. Everything's so beautiful to learn. I want to just take all this info in and do things with it. And she's squaring up to Mars and Virgo, who's just like, oh, you're so extra. We gotta delete these things. We gotta, bring it down to the necessities only. So Mars and Virgo is really the cleaning crew. Plus the South Node is also in Virgo. Mars and South Node are coming into some closeness here. I did a video quite a while back, and it's one of my favorites. It's about Mars and Venus when they're in frictional experiences. And I used a song from Carly Simon I was listening to music on my way home, taking my kids to school, and I used to have to do that. Now they both drive, so happy about that. But I was listening to this song, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Venus and Mars squaring off. So I'll add that to the description below if you want to watch a fun video about that kind of not so fun energy. On July 24th, we have our second lunation. It's the new moon in Leo. I love new moons in Leo. I don't know, something about it. The new moon is going to connect with Saturn and Neptune and Uranus and Pluto, all those guys. So it's a real clear path in the busy month. There's something we're going to be wanting to do here because the very next day, Sun and Pluto face off. So these 3 days in a row, they're pretty heavy. I'm going to look at this on my program real quick. Yeah, okay. Sun and Moon are going to conjoin at like 2 degrees of Leo. Mercury is retrograde also in Leo, and it's opposing Pluto. So the thing about opposition Sun-Pluto, I always think of that is Pluto's so far away. Pluto's such a badass that, you could be standing on Pluto's surface and you could look directly into the sun because it's just kind of a big star. On Earth we can't, right? We'll go blind. But Pluto can just look right in the eyes of the sun and be like, and? And what? Yeah, what do you want to say here? And Pluto's doing pretty well because it's getting very good energy from Uranus and Gemini, so extra air, and also still getting the Saturn and Neptune sextile. So this should be an interesting one. This is probably a really good time to put some intentions into your heart-centeredness. What is your heart telling you? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do with your star presence? We all have it. We all have some star inside of us that's shining out bright and warm. Leo's ruled by the sun, so it's a very solar energy. It depends on where your sun is, but we all have something to share and give from the heart. And so where is that for you? This is probably something you can think about during this lunation. On July 30th, Venus is going to enter Cancer. That's a fast move, right? She was just entering to Gemini. Now she's in Cancer. She's on speed mode. She's moving. And that'll be a shift too. We'll go from this, kind of expansive ideas that are beautiful, da da da. And then Uranus comes in and takes over that spot. I'm like, okay, I'm here. Thanks, babe. Whatever. I got this. Anyways, then Venus enters Cancer, and what's nice about that, that's where Jupiter is. And so we'll have both benefics in Cancer. The end of July feels like a really nice time to spend quality time with family, planning something together, or friends, doing something nice for yourself, comforting, cozy, decorating your home, focusing on relationships that are nurturing and caring, or maybe you want to share some of what you have with other people. You want to be generous and giving, or volunteer, or do something like that during this period. It's a couple weeks that it'll be coming into a conjunction with two benefics in the same space. So if you know where your Cancer house is, there should be some beautiful things happening in that area of your life around this time, July 30th. On July 31st, the end of the month, we have a Mercury Cazimi in Leo. It's a moment of clarity. It's when Mercury and the Sun come together. So it's the first one where Mercury is retrograding, meeting the Sun, and then it'll pass backwards in the Sun. Then when it goes forwards, we'll have another Cazimi. So this is the first one. It's closely aligning, obviously. It's at the same degree. It's in the heart of the Sun, and it's supercharged. It's a flashbulb moment where things are going to become very, very clear. I like that it lines up with the new moon in Leo, this Mercury Cazimi, because there's going to be some insights, there's going to be some shifts, some changes, but we're going back into that heart again, the heart of the Sun, the heart of our great energetic that's inside of us, to find some clarity here, and thinking about it more as everything is kind of retrograding back. It's pulling back into this space of rethinking things, So leaning into the benefics in Cancer, if this other area of life is a little bit shaky, we can go to those good parts, those happiness things that are happening simultaneous. That's what life is all about. It's always a bunch of stuff going on at once. It has to be like that. It's complex. It's unique. Every single thing. I mean, it's wild that you can take 12 houses, 12 signs, and whatever, 10 planets plus all of the other stuff that's in there. And you make an infinite variety of experiences and personal, unique people having different lives and universes of experience themselves. It's all very, very incredible. Okay. I hope you have a wonderful month of July ahead. I like you just the way you are. And if you feel like getting a reading with me, I still have a few openings in July, a few in August, and then it closes for a little bit in September. So if you feel called to do that, it's available to you. The link will be in the description below. And I like you just the way you are. I'll talk to you next time. Okay.